My girlfriend left me because I worked too much. She left with the guy who gave her all the attention who turned out to be a total loser, and now she wants to come back. My girlfriend just gave me an ultimatum, and honestly, I do not know if I am overreacting, if she is right, or if we are simply at different stages in life. I am 28 years old, I am a civil engineer, and I have been in a relationship for 3 years with my girlfriend, Ashley, who is 25. I have never written anything like this, but I need an outside opinion because I can no longer talk about this with friends without feeling like they are taking sides, so I'm going to get straight to the point without beating around the bush. Ashley told me, literally looking me in the eyes, to stop working so much, or I would lose her. It was not a metaphor. It was not said in the heat of the moment, and it was not a phrase shouted during a fight, but rather it was something cold and calculated, as if she had already been thinking about it for a long time. To give some context, I have always been a hard worker, which is not something new nor something that started a year ago. My dad was a blue-collar worker his whole life and always repeated the same phrase to me, saying that if you want something, you have to work hard for it because nobody hands you anything for free. Money was tight in my house, and while we never went hungry, we did not have luxuries either. So the idea that nothing is free stuck with me. I studied civil engineering, and it cost me a lot to finish my degree, as I worked while I studied and slept very little, yet I still fell behind by a semester. When I finally got my degree and landed a stable job with a good salary, I felt that all that effort was finally bearing fruit. So since then, I have not stopped working overtime, taking double shifts when possible, and taking on additional projects. I do this not because I am forced to, but because I want to advance quickly, save, invest, and build something solid. When I met Ashley, she knew perfectly well what I was like, and in the beginning she actually liked it and would brag to her friends that her boyfriend was an engineer who was responsible, hardworking, and focused. She loved saying that I did not waste time, and we even talked about future plans because I have always been clear that I want to buy a house before I am 30, or at most, in the next 3 years, and then get married with stability and have something of our own. She agreed and said she found it attractive that I had clear goals. Ashley also works as an interior designer and likes what she does, but she earns significantly less than I do, and that was never a topic of discussion, nor have I ever made her feel bad about it or reproached her for it. I assumed from the start that a large part of the financial burden would fall on me, and I accepted it without a problem. The conflict started a few months ago when a big project came up at work, and I started working even more, with more hours and fewer free weekends. At first, I told her it would be temporary, and that it would be worth it, and she said she understood, but she started to change and became more distant and colder. The passive-aggressive comments started, like saying, "Sure, you are always busy," or "Do not worry, I know work is more important," or that it does not even seem like she has a boyfriend anymore. I tried to compensate when I was with her by trying to be present, putting down the phone, and listening to her, but many times I arrived tired with my head still at work, and I guess it showed. The arguments became more frequent and were almost all about the same thing, with her saying she never saw me anymore and felt alone even while in a relationship. I replied that all this was for our future and that I was not working on a whim but doing it thinking about building something for both of us. That is when the strongest reproaches began, as she told me I only thought about money, that I lived to work, and that I seemed more married to my job than to her. I told her she was exaggerating and did not understand what it takes to rise from the bottom. In a particularly bad fight, she said something that hurt me quite a bit, saying she would prefer I earned less but was with her more. To me, it makes no sense to have fought so hard only to settle later, as I do not want to live always counting pennies and waiting for the end of the month. There were also fights over small things that became huge, like arriving late to a dinner with her friends, canceling a plan because something came up at the construction site, or not answering messages for several hours. She saw it as a lack of interest, while I saw it as an inevitable consequence of my work. A few days ago, everything exploded while we were eating in silence in a heavy atmosphere that had lasted for days. She put down her silverware, looked at me, and said she could not go on like this anymore, that she had felt displaced for months, that she had talked to me many times, and that nothing changed. That was when she dropped the ultimatum, telling me she was not asking me to quit, but to stop accepting so many overtime hours, to set limits, and to prioritize her, and if I was not willing, then we should break up because she did not want to be in a relationship where she always felt like she was in second place. I was in shock because I truly never thought we would reach that point. And the irony is that at the beginning of the relationship she admired exactly this part of me. I told her I needed to think about it, that it was not a simple decision, and that I did not see work as an enemy, but as an investment. But she replied that she had already waited a long time. Now I am writing this because I honestly do not know what to do. On one hand, I love her, and she is not a bad person, and has been a good partner in many aspects, and I understand that feeling lonely hurts. On the other hand, I feel that if I give in now, I will be betraying everything that has built me as a person, and I am afraid of slacking off, losing my rhythm, and regretting it later. I do not know if I am the one being stubborn or if she is asking for something that goes against who I am. I wonder if I should slow down and risk my professional growth for the relationship, or if this is a sign that we simply want different things even though it hurts to accept it. Here is an update on the situation because I did not think I would be writing this so soon, and certainly not in this way, but I think I owe an update to those who commented. After reading many comments, I decided to try something different, not because I was fully convinced, but because I did not want to lose her without at least having tried. I spoke with Ashley and told her I was going to reduce my workload, so I stopped accepting double shifts, turned down overtime, and paused some secondary projects. In practical terms, I was still working, but no longer at the brutal pace I had been keeping. At first, she was truly happy, and it showed, so we started seeing each other more, having dinner without rushing, going for walks, and we even talked about planning a vacation together because her days off were approaching. I thought maybe this would work, but something started to break inside me because a week after slowing down, I started feeling empty, frustrated, and useless. I cannot find a better word for it. I tried to convince myself that I was doing the right thing and that this was normal, but I felt weird with myself, finding it hard to concentrate and feeling anxious as if I were wasting time. This was not out of excessive ambition, but because that is how I have always functioned. I tried to silence it and thought it was just a matter of adaptation. But then the event that triggered everything happened. My boss called me on a Thursday afternoon saying he was going on a business trip and needed someone trustworthy to be in charge of the company for 2 weeks. It was not a small thing, as it was a great responsibility and also involved a quite juicy extra payment. I told him I would think about it, and that same day I spoke with Ashley because I did not want to hide anything from her. I explained the situation, told her it was only for 2 weeks, and that the extra money could use for our vacation to dedicate time solely to her afterward. I tried to present it as a one-time thing and not as returning to how things were before, but her reaction completely threw me off. She looked at me without surprise, without strong anger, and without tears, and just said she knew I would relapse, so go ahead and do what you want. I tried to explain that it was not the same, that I was not returning to excess, and that it was a specific situation, but she interrupted me and dropped the bomb that she had met another guy. I froze and literally did not react, feeling as if my body had been left behind and my head could not process the phrase. I asked her to repeat what she had said, not because I had not heard her, but because I needed to confirm I was not imagining it. She told me yes, that she was sorry, but that she had warned me, saying I was a workaholic, that I was never present, and that I did not make her feel important, but this other man did. Then she added something that finished breaking me, saying he had been giving her more attention than me for months. In that moment, I understood many things all at once, like the coldness, the distance, and the constant fights, which had not started solely because of my work. I will not lie, I cried, and not in a dignified or silent way, but I broke down. I tried to say something, I do not know exactly what, but she cut me off and said that even if I cried, the decision was already made. She got up and left me sitting there in a park with people passing by as if nothing was happening. I did not follow her, and I did not beg, not because it did not hurt, but because I did not have the strength. The following days were horrible, as I did not sleep well and woke up at 3 or 4 in the morning with my head full of noise. At work, I was distracted, which never happens to me, and I made mistakes on simple things while feeling weird and dull. A couple of days later, I made the mistake of logging onto Facebook, and there was the photo of her smiling and hugging another guy. At first, I did not recognize him, but then I felt a mixture of disbelief and rage when I saw who it was. It was Kyle. We had lost track of Kyle for different reasons, and I had not known anything about him for a long time, and I will be honest, even if it sounds arrogant or cruel, Kyle was always a disaster. He jumped from job to job, got fired, quit, or always had an excuse, saying the environment did not suit him, the vibes were weird, or that the place was not for him. He never lasted more than a few months and lived improvising. Seeing her with him hit me in a different way, not because he was better, but because he was the complete opposite of what I represent. It was hard not to take it personally, as if all my effort had been worth nothing. I asked myself at what point all this happened, when she started talking to him, and how many times she was with me while she already had another person waiting for her. I am not going to justify myself by saying it was only my work's fault, nor am I going to saint her, because what she did was a betrayal, even if she had legitimate grievances. If she had been with someone else for months, then the ultimatum was not as honest as it seemed. Now I am trying to pull myself together, and I accepted my boss's assignment, not out of spite or to run away, but because I understood something painful. I tried to become someone I am not to save a relationship, and it still was not enough. That does not mean I do not have to learn something from all this, as clearly I have to review my limits, my balance, and what I expect from a partner, but I also understood that being with someone should not imply stopping being yourself. It hurts a lot, but the only thing left to do is move on. It has been approximately a month and a half since the last time I wrote, and I am not going to say that I am completely fine, but I was at that weird point where the pain starts to lower in volume, where you can sleep a little better, where the memory does not burn so much, and only a kind of emotional fatigue remains. I had returned to my routine and work helped me. Not to run away, but to recover structure. I started working out a little, eating better, and organizing things I had neglected. And there were even days when I thought about her without my chest hurting. And just then, it happened. A message came from Ashley. It was not anything long or dramatic, but a simple hi sent directly to my cell phone, as if nothing had happened, as if she had not left me crying in a park, and as if she had not gone off with another guy. I did not reply. The next day, another message arrived, this time longer, asking for forgiveness. She said she had been thinking a lot about everything, that things did not turn out as she expected, and that she felt confused. She asked to see me for a coffee, nothing serious, just to talk, and added something that threw me off even more, saying that even if we did not get back together, she wanted to close things well. That was what bothered me the most, asking close what exactly, since she decided to leave and had already chosen. I did not have closure, I had abandonment, and now she needed me to help her feel at peace. I did not reply. During the following days, she kept writing, not intensely or desperately, but constantly, with polite and almost formal messages always in the same tone of regret, confusion, and desire to talk. I ignored her, not out of pride or revenge, but simply because I did not know what to say without undoing all the progress I had made. The worst part is that her message stirred up things I thought I had overcome, making me wonder again how she was, if she was still with Kyle, and if she truly regretted it or was just bored. I started reviewing old conversations and the noise in my head started again. That was when a question came up that perhaps sounds childish but is honest, asking why they are like this. Why do they come back when you are finally healing? When you no longer beg, and when you no longer search? Is it guilt, loneliness, or ego? I feel bad even for doubting, as part of me wants to believe her regret is real and that maybe she realized what she lost, but a colder part of me tells me she only seeks emotional relief and not a real solution. I do not know if accepting that date would be closing wounds or opening them again, so for now I continue without answering, but I will not lie. It is hard. I did not plan to write again, and in fact, I had decided the story ended with my last update because I was no longer checking comments or needing opinions, as I felt I was finally getting out of the hole, but what happened next deserves to be told, even if as a definitive closing, because there are endings that do not come with silence but with a final shake. 2 weeks after ignoring her messages, I was focused on my own thing, with routine, work, the gym, and sleeping better. It was not perfect, but much more stable, and I no longer thought about her upon waking up, nor imagined answers that would never arrive. I was finally starting to truly heal. And then she appeared. Literally. She appeared. I was at a construction site reviewing documents with my hard hat on, concentrated on some blueprints amidst the noise of machines, voices, and dust, in an environment completely alien to emotions. I looked up almost by inertia, and there she was. Ashley was standing a few yards away outside the safety perimeter, with her arms crossed as if she did not know what to do with her own body. When our eyes met, she did not walk toward me but only raised her hand slowly and timidly, like someone who knows she no longer has the right to approach. I felt a sharp blow in my chest, not of love, but of impact and disbelief. My first reaction was to get annoyed and wonder how she could think to come here, but my second reaction was to take a deep breath, because I was not going to run away or make a scene in front of my coworkers. I signaled for her to wait and walked toward her. When I was face to face with her, I realized something I had not noticed from afar, which was that she looked bad. Very bad. She had deep dark circles under her eyes, a dull gaze, and a haggard face that had nothing to do with the smiling woman I saw in that Facebook photo. She did not say much at first, just my name quietly, almost with fear, and asked to speak for a moment. I accepted, more out of a need for closure than a desire to talk. So we moved away from the noise. Not even 2 minutes had passed when she broke down, and it was not a gentle cry, but a desperate one, where she doubled over a little, covered her face, and started to tremble. She repeated, "I am sorry," over and over again, as if saying it many times could undo everything. I stayed still. I did not hug her, and I did not interrupt her. When she could breathe a little, I asked her directly what had happened without reproaches or irony, as I just wanted the truth. And then she said it all. Kyle, the other guy, turned out to be nothing like what she had invented in her head. At first, he was attentive, free, and always available, which was what trapped her. But in a matter of weeks, he started showing who he really was. He did not want to work, saying jobs killed the soul, and mocked people who made an effort. He started staying at her house longer, using her things, and practically living off her, trying to convince her to support him for a while he found himself. The crying intensified when she said what the breaking point was, which was that he stole from her. It was not a fortune, but enough. Money she had saved for a project. When she confronted him, he did not apologize but minimized it, telling her she was exaggerating and that money comes and goes. That was when the blindfold fell from her eyes. She told me, crying, that in that moment she thought of me, of my discipline, my consistency, and my way of taking charge. She said that what she confused with coldness in me was actually stability, and that she confused calm with boredom. I listened to everything, but no longer from a place of pain, but from the outside. When she finished, she looked at me like someone who is drowning and sees a floating plank. She asked for my forgiveness again, but this time, it was not just I am sorry. She told me she had ruined everything, that she knew I had no obligation to forgive her, and that she understood too late that the ultimatum was an excuse, because the truth is that she herself was lost and made impulsive decisions. Then she said, without beating around the bush, what she had really come to say, that she wanted to get back with me. Not as a demand, but as a plea. She said she was willing to wait, to do things right, to respect my work and my time, and that she had learned and lost the only man who truly wanted to build a future with her. That was where I had to speak. I told her something that was not easy, but was honest. I told her that we all make mistakes and that being wrong is human, and that had she sought me out before betraying the relationship, maybe the story would be different. But I also told her something that disarmed her completely. I told her I could not go back to her, not because I did not love her, but because I could no longer trust her. Because when someone replaces you, lies to you, and then returns only when the new option fails, that is not love, it is the fear of being alone. I told her I was not a consolation prize, and that I was not going to be the place she returned to after crashing. That is when she truly broke. She cried harder and told me she understood, but that it hurt, and that she never thought I would be the one to put the final limit because she always believed I would be there. I replied with something she also needed to hear, saying I was there until she left me. I asked her calmly but firmly not to appear at my work again, that this was not the place, and that this meeting was the closure. Before leaving, she looked at me one last time and said she believed she lost the man of her life. I did not reply. I watched her walk away, and this time, she did not leave me feeling empty. She left me feeling at peace. I understood something important, which is that not all stories end with reconciliation, as some end when you finally choose to respect yourself. I am closing everything here. Thanks for reading.